All right, let's talk about the defense because obviously those guys were the stars of the day also. Look, a lot of it helps that you're playing Jacksonville. They're poop. I said it all week. They're Jacksonville. They got 4 wins for a reason. I think they had a total of 20 yards
Oh
net
my goodness.
passing. They were really, really
Yeah.
bad. But we
Yeah.
dominated. I mean, Ryan Kerrigan, I think, had his best game of the year. I thought Allen and Payne, they did their work. They showed up big time. I thought Mason Foster, after having a tough week, showed up pretty well. A lot of guys played pretty darn well on defense.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville didn't offer much in the form of resistance when it came to the passing game. You
Right.
talked about 20 yards passing. I mean, that's horrendous. There's no way you can win a football game in the National Football League that way.
Right.
But Jacksonville was still in it at the end, which is very weird. But this defense did make plays. They were able to get pressure on them. Still struggled a little bit against the run, which is very concerning moving forward because you're facing a Tennessee team who kind of has been operating the same way that Jacksonville team looks. They're not going to try to throw the ball around a lot. Mariota had 88 yards yesterday, and Henry had another big day. He rushed for 170 yards. And so you couple that up with, Deion Lewis and a couple of the Mariota runs, they're up over 200 yards rushing. And so it's going to be another one of those type of slugfest games. And, Vrabel's defense isn't quitting. At times, Jacksonville defense over the last couple of weeks has looked as though they gave up a little bit. And so, it was encouraging, though, to see them guys really have some success against a really stout defense, a defense that man for man is as good as any defense in the National Football League. That gives, I think, a lot of those offensive linemen and a lot of those guys on that offense a little bit of confidence moving forward that they can do some things, especially knowing that, Tennessee's a really, really good opponent.
Hey, we're joined by DeAngelo Hall, former Redskins corner. Of course, you can watch him on NBC Sports Washington now on Sundays after the game. Talk about Ha Clinton-Dix because he has really struggled, I think, in a Redskins uniform, but yesterday probably his best game.
Yeah. I mean, up until that, and even in that game, it was certain times that Ha was moving around that you were kind of like, man, he looks a little stiff. He doesn't look like that explosive player that that we thought we were getting. And so, pulling that trade off was a deal. Was a situation where I think this team felt like, hey, look, we think we can add an explosive player in our secondary, and let's get a test drive. Let's test drive him out. Let's see if he's who we think he is. The whole trade in general for Ha, I kind of got behind it because, knowing the kind of player he's been in the past in Green Bay and talking with some of the coaches in Green Bay, I played for a couple of those coaches out there, so I was able to kind of call those guys and, get the scouting report on them. And they felt like he was a great player. They felt like where they lost Ha was by not giving him that fifth-year extension. He kind of, didn't play as hard or didn't mean as much to him. So I thought coming here, extra motivation to go out there and make some plays. And, you really haven't seen him make those splash plays that you're used to seeing him make. He's been a Pro Bowl caliber safety. And so, I heard Monte Nichols was going to start to get back, getting more reps. And so maybe they're not as in love with Ha as we first thought. But, he did play a really good game yesterday, and they need for him to make plays. They need for DJ Swearinger to make plays. It was hard, though, because, the way Jacksonville approached the game, it was going to be almost impossible for any player in our secondary to really influence the game besides making tackles. And so you saw Ha come up and make a couple really good tackles, and really that's what you need for him moving forward.
All right, let's talk about what's sort of transferable the next week against Tennessee because offensively they're challenged too. I mean, they've only scored 3 points more than we have all year. Same offensive production, right? It's pretty remarkable. Better defense, we know that. But here's what's scary is when you look at the wins they have. I mean, they've knocked off the Texans, the Eagles, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the Jags twice. They just shut out the Giants. I mean, they've got actually a pretty impressive resume.
Yeah, and that's why you always, when you see Tennessee's schedule and who they've been successful against, you always kind of give them the nod because, the quality of wins that they have versus their opponents is a lot different than ours.
Right.
And so, they've beat some really good teams and they've lost to some really bad teams. So they've been pretty inconsistent. And so, though Tennessee has a lot of weapons and they scare me, I like the matchup. Even with Josh Johnson out there, quarterback, I like the matchup because I feel like where we kind of struggle a little bit is in pass defense, and I don't feel like they're going to be able to really throw the ball all over the field. I think Minuski will put 8 in the box and make them throw the ball. He's not going to let Mariota run it around too much, and he's ultimately going to stop Derrick Henry from running the ball. This team was really good at stopping really good running backs, and I think they'll try to get back to that. Anytime you have a big-time guy come in here who's put up numbers is a challenge, and I think these guys will rise to the occasion. They know that Derrick Henry's been running the ball very well, and I think this linebacking core and this front four are going to fight like heck to make sure that dude doesn't have the kind of day he's been having.